Hello, hello, hello. It is check-in for the final bit of Orley Farm by Anthony Trollope, his 1862, I think, novel. Yeah, this is me to the very end, so if you've tuned in somehow to this episode of Orley Farm, chapter 71 to 80, be known that I am talking about the very ending of this novel. Yes. Man, it's one of these books where it's like, okay, are you basically saying to me, Trollope, that it's a shocking that lawyers fight for their clients when they don't actually think that they're innocent? Because I think, sir, you have misunderstood the law. That or that you're putting on a very kind of innocent face on it. I'm somewhat puzzled by this novel. Um, and there's the thing of like at the end here of, so there's that, because Furnival, that's the thing that comes up with Furnival. Furnival gets up in front of the court, kind of gears himself up and gives a good rousing speech to defend Lady Mason. And regardless of whether he believes it or not, what he's saying or not, he puts up a good front. He argues for his client, and indeed he wins through, and his client is found not guilty. But this is somehow seen as, by some, as kind of moral failing. Indeed, by Percival, Lucius Mason, and others, it is seen as thing. Though we do also have Mr. Chumworth, who is like glaring at Lewis Graham for being such a twerp, and being kind of wishy-washy on helping his client now that he realizes that she is actually guilty of a crime. It's like, you're a freaking lawyer. That's sort of what you do. If you're only there to defend innocent people, I think you're in the wrong goddamn business. Yeah, just kind of puzzles me on that point. The other thing is, it's like at the very end, Trollope is like, I think like chapter 79 of like, can you forgive her? Can you, it's like, to quote another one of his novels, it's like, can you forgive Lady Mason? And just sort of like, well, I mostly feel indifferent to Lady Mason in her crime. Yes, she committed a crime. She probably shouldn't have gotten away with it, you know. The only reason that all this has come out is stuff outside of her control. If Doc Rath, the vengeful tenant who turned out was a lawyer, hadn't brought forward this stuff, she would have very happily continued on in this thing. Well, maybe not happily. She seems to have been tormented by doubts, but not enough doubt or fear or guilt that she was actually going to give it up for her son, because she loved her son too much to actually give it up. But in the end, I find her guilty of not being that interesting. That is actually her primary flaw. I think about in Lady Anna, the Countess in that novel is such a fierce and vibrant and striking character, whereas Lady Mason spends a lot of time going wah wah wah, which it's understandable and it's very human, but I just don't find it particularly that engaging. Yeah, yeah. And because I don't find her that engaging, it's hard to find the Baronet Lord Percival's the elder Percival Orme, particularly his love and his kind of disappointment over Lady Mason's failings, that compelling, because it's just like, well, she's not that interesting to begin with, so why are you so bent out of shape, dude? Kind of like, he's obviously he's a really good guy, and Lady Orme, his daughter-in-law, is a really decent guy, but not guy, woman, but Lady Mason herself is just kind of this wet squib in the middle of it all, which is kind of like, meh, kind of makes everything kind of bendy and not as interesting. Um, we have this whole side plot with Felix Graham, and Madeline Stapley and Percy Orme the younger, where Percy Orme the younger decided that he loved her, Madeline, and she never particularly ever even freaking noticed him until he helped the guy she actually loved. So that love triangle isn't a triangle. It's just Percy Orme being kind of slightly comedically in love with this woman. And, okay, it's sad. And what does he do at the end? It's like, well, you don't love me. And I mean, he's very kind of, he gets very kind of like, very kind of grumpy with Felix at the end, which, is understandable. And then he apologizes for that. And then he goes off to Africa and butchers as many fucking animals as he can. Gets, all that rage. He's blowing away all these freaking, lions and tigers and elephants. It's just like, fuck you, dude. You're reprehensible that way, I guess you would think now. But, he's just like, bathed in the blood of the innocent animals. It's like, that's maybe a modern interpretation. And then Felix Graham himself has this whole thing with Mary Stone, which I have to go back at, but I really think it's like basically he purchased her from her father when she was 14 and had been educating her and modeling her, or maybe grooming her to be his bride, his young bride that he had basically molded into his perfect wife, which thankfully did not come off. But this is the guy who went, oh no, actually I want to be with Madeline, and she learns about it and is fine. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. You had another love before me. It's like you had someone who was not actually an adult when you entered into kind of like planning your relationship with her. It's like, I still find it really gross. So this has been, maybe this Orley Farm is one of these books that it's a victim of two things. It's a victim of I'd heard it talked up as like one of the really great standalone Trollope novels, so the bar was risen rather high that way. And two, I made the mistake of reading Lady Anna just before reading Orley Farm. Both cases center around legal matters. Both of them have, mothers at the center of the thing, and both have kind of these kind of relationships with of kind of B plots of like well, actually it's not even a B plot. It's more integrated plot in Lady Anna, where we have like a love triangle, and a genuine kind of more genuine love triangle, at least more thematic, more interesting love triangle than Orley Farm. So it really has that against it, because in every way possible, I find Orley Farm lacking in comparison to Lady Anna, which is interesting because it is not the one that I've heard the more stuff about. But in my books, I'm find myself here at the end comparing the two a lot and thinking a lot more about Lady Anna and how much I found about it. I'm going to have to just sort of sit with this for a little bit and try and consider the novel on its own, though I have a feeling I will be bringing up Lady Anna in that review regardless. All right, I'm going to leave it there. I'm at least exercised by it. Yeah, so that is my last standalone Trollope. I might read the biography, his autobiography. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do next with Trollope. God help me, Steve Donahue or somebody is going to probably start up a Barchester Towers read along, and I'll probably get sucked in because, my God, it's the one series of his I have not read yet, and that would be something that probably not to be missed on BookTube, especially if Steve actually does it. But I will let it lay fallow for there, and we'll see where we go from there. All right. More videos later.